Emma Collins felt her heart racing as the transport doors opened with a soft hiss. The young woman stepped onto the metal platform of Nexus Prime, her brown eyes wide with wonder. At 18 years old, she had dreamed of this moment for years. The space station stretched out before her like a small city floating in the darkness of space. The air tasted different here, recycled and filtered through alien technology. Strange smells mixed together, metallic oils, exotic spices, and something she could not identify. Emma adjusted her blue diplomatic uniform and picked up her small travel bag. She was Earth's youngest cultural ambassador, chosen for this exchange program because of her quick mind and friendly nature. All around her, alien beings moved through the station corridors. She saw tall, gray creatures with 4 arms carrying cargo containers. Small, furry beings with large eyes chatted in high-pitched voices. Flying creatures with beautiful wing patterns glided overhead through the upper levels of the station. Emma had studied pictures of these species for months, but seeing them in person made her stomach flutter with excitement. The central plaza of Nexus Prime was massive, with shops and restaurants built into the curved walls. An artificial sun glowed from the ceiling, casting warm light over the busy area. Emma walked slowly, trying to take in every detail. She wanted to remember everything to tell her family back on Earth. Other humans lived and worked on the station, but Emma felt special. She was here to learn about alien cultures and share human customs with other species. Her teachers had told her this job was important for peace between Earth and the galaxy. Emma found a bench near a fountain and sat down to watch the crowd. The water sparkled as it fell, and small fish-like creatures swam in the pool. She pulled out her communication device to record a message for her parents. "Mom, Dad, I made it safely," she whispered into the device. "The station is incredible. I wish you could see all the different species here. Everyone seems so peaceful and busy with their own lives." She did not notice the 6 figures moving through the crowd toward her. They were Zephyrians, a warrior species known for their hard outer shells and aggressive nature. Their bodies looked like giant insects walking on 2 legs. Sharp claws clicked against the metal floor as they approached. The largest Zephyrian was Commander Vex, a veteran soldier, with scars across his dark green shell. His compound eyes fixed on Emma as she sat innocently on the bench. To him, she looked weak and soft, everything he despised about humans. "Look at this pathetic creature," Vex said to his companions in their clicking language, "sitting there like prey, unaware of danger." The other Zephyrians spread out in a circle around Emma. She looked up from her communication device and noticed them for the first time. Something cold settled in her stomach. These beings looked different from the peaceful aliens she had seen earlier. Their posture was aggressive, and their eyes held no kindness. "Excuse me," Emma said politely, standing up from the bench. "Is there something I can help you with?" Commander Vex activated his communication broadcaster, a device that would send his voice throughout the entire station. His mandibles clicked with amusement. "Citizens of the galaxy," his voice boomed through every speaker on Nexus Prime. "Come and see what Earth sends to represent humanity. Look at this soft, weak flesh they call a diplomat." Emma felt hundreds of eyes turning toward her. Aliens throughout the plaza stopped their activities to watch. Some pulled out recording devices. Others simply stared with curious expressions. A few began moving closer to get a better view. "I don't understand," Emma said, her voice shaking slightly. "What do you want from me?" Vex stepped closer, towering over the young woman. His shell gleamed under the artificial sunlight. "We want to show the galaxy what humans really are. Weak, helpless, unworthy of respect." The first blow came without warning. Vex's clawed hand struck Emma across the face, sending her stumbling backward. Pain exploded through her cheek as she tasted blood in her mouth. She looked around desperately for help, but the crowd just watched. "Please," Emma gasped, holding her hand to her bleeding face. "I haven't done anything wrong. I'm just here to learn about your cultures. The second Zephyrian kicked her legs, sending Emma crashing to the hard metal floor. Her knees hit the ground with a sickening crack, and she cried out in agony. The communication device flew from her hand and shattered against a nearby wall. This is human strength, Vex announced to his audience. Watch how their greatest diplomat handles conflict. The beating became systematic and cruel. The sixes took turns striking Emma with calculated precision. They broke her ribs one by one, enjoying the sound of cracking bones. They tore her diplomatic uniform, leaving long scratches across her arms and legs. Emma's screams echoed through the plaza, like the cries of a wounded animal. She begged for mercy, pleaded for someone to help her, but the crowd remained passive observers. Some species considered this entertainment. Others viewed it as a natural demonstration of superior strength over weakness. In Earth's embassy, Ambassador Richardson watched the live security feed with horror. His hands shook as he reached for his communication panel, but he knew there was nothing he could do. By the time station security responded, it would be too late. "Dear God," Richardson whispered, watching the 18-year-old girl he had welcomed to the station just hours earlier. "She's just a child." The attack continued for 23 minutes. Emma stopped screaming after the 15th minute, her voice too damaged to make sound. Blood pooled beneath her broken body as the Zephyrians continued their demonstration of human weakness. Finally, station security arrived. The armored guards moved slowly, as if they had taken their time responding to the emergency call. Commander Vex stepped back from Emma's motionless form and addressed the galaxy one final time. "This is human strength," he declared. "Remember? This moment when they speak of diplomatic relations and peaceful cooperation. This broken thing represents everything humanity offers, the galaxy." Emma lay unconscious on the cold metal floor, her blood mixing with dust and debris. Her breathing was shallow and irregular. Several bones were broken, and internal injuries threatened her life. The crowd began to disperse as if nothing unusual had happened. The entertainment was over, and they returned to their daily activities. Only a few drops of blood on the plaza floor remained as evidence of the brutal assault on Earth's youngest ambassador. The message arrived at exactly 0800 hours, Galactic Standard Time. Captain Mike Henderson was drinking his morning coffee aboard the cargo ship New Boston when his communication console beeped with an incoming priority transmission. The encryption code was one he had never seen before, marked with the highest security classification Earth possessed. "Return to Sol, immediately. No exceptions," the message read. Below those simple words was a string of numbers that made Henderson's blood run cold. It was his wife's birthday, his daughter's middle name converted to numbers, and his service identification from his military days. Only Earth's command knew those details. Henderson set down his coffee cup with shaking hands. In 30 years of commercial space travel, he had never received an order like this. The message contained no explanation, no reasoning, just a direct command that left no room for argument. Across the galaxy, the same scene played out on hundreds of human vessels. Trade ships carrying exotic goods suddenly changed course. Exploration. Teams abandoned their missions halfway through important discoveries. Colony ships loaded with families stopped their journeys to distant worlds and turned back toward Earth. Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Morgan received the transmission while leading a joint military exercise with Altarian forces. She was demonstrating human tactical procedures to her alien counterparts when her personal communicator chimed. After reading the message, her face went pale. "I apologize, but this exercise is terminated," she announced to the confused Altarian officers. "All human personnel will be departing within the hour." The Altarians protested, claiming they had planned this exercise for months, but Morgan was already walking away. Her soldiers followed without question, their training overriding their curiosity about the sudden change in orders. On research stations throughout the galaxy, Human scientists abandoned their work mid-experiment. Dr. James Porter was studying crystalline formations on a remote moon when the message reached him. He looked at his alien research partners, gathered his personal belongings, and left without saying goodbye. 20 years of collaborative research meant nothing compared to that simple command from Earth. The Galactic Council building on Centaurus Prime became a scene of confusion as human diplomats began packing their offices. Ambassador Richardson moved through the hallways like a ghost, his face showing no emotion as he supervised the evacuation of Earth's diplomatic mission. Senator Korath of the Altarian Republic found Richardson in his office, sealing boxes of documents and personal items. The tall, blue-skinned Altarian watched with amusement as the human ambassador worked. "Leaving so soon, Richardson?" Korath asked, his voice dripping with mockery. "I thought humans prided themselves on their persistence." Richardson did not look up from his packing. "We're going home, Senator. That's all there is to it. Because one little human girl got roughed up." "How wonderfully emotional of your species," Korath laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a storm. "Perhaps this is for the best. The galaxy has been wondering when humanity would realize they don't belong among the grown-up species." Richardson sealed the last box and picked up his personal bag. For just a moment, he looked directly at Korath, with eyes that seemed much older than his years. "We're going home," he repeated quietly, then walked out of his office for the final time. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened 12 hours after the human exodus began. Representatives from 47 species gathered to discuss this unprecedented event. The chamber buzzed with excited conversation as various species shared their observations of human behavior. Chancellor Voss of the Hegemony stood at the central podium, his metallic voice carrying through the assembly. "Fellow representatives, we are witnessing the collapse of human resolve. They retreat like wounded animals, unable to face the reality of their weakness." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Many species had grown tired of human involvement in galactic affairs. They saw this withdrawal as an opportunity to claim valuable human territories and resources. "I propose we begin immediate discussions about redistributing former human claims," Voss continued. "Their mining operations, their research stations, their trade routes all abandoned and ripe for new management." Senator Korath stood to address the assembly. "The humans have shown their true nature. When faced with real conflict, they run away. This Emma Collins incident merely revealed what we all suspected. Humanity lacks the strength to maintain their position in galactic society." The representatives nodded and clicked and hummed their agreement. Several species had already begun calculating which human territories they wanted to claim. The rich asteroid mining fields in the Outer Rim were particularly attractive, as were the advanced research facilities humanity had built throughout their expansion. But while the aliens celebrated and planned, strange things were happening in human space. Deep space monitoring stations that had operated for decades suddenly went silent. The signals simply stopped, as if someone had turned off a switch. Mining operations in remote asteroid fields powered down their equipment and evacuated their workers. Automated systems that had run continuously for years shut themselves off. The massive orbital platforms around human colonies began broadcasting coded messages before falling silent. Captain Torres of the independent freighter **Star Wanderer * noticed the changes during his regular cargo run through human territory. The navigation beacons that guided ships through dangerous asteroid fields had gone dark. The communication relays that connected distant outposts were no longer responding. "It's like they're erasing themselves from space," Torres reported to his crew. "Every human installation we pass is either abandoned or shutting down." The energy signatures were perhaps the most mysterious part of the human withdrawal. Sensors throughout the galaxy detected brief, powerful bursts of unknown energy coming from human space. The signatures appeared for just moments before vanishing, leaving no trace of their source or purpose. Dr. Lisa Chen was among the last humans to leave her research post on the hegemony's capital world. She had spent 15 years studying alien biology alongside her non-human colleagues. Her research had led to medical breakthroughs that saved lives across multiple species as she prepared to board the final transport back to Earth. Her longtime research partner, Dr. Thane, approached her. The insectoid scientist had worked with Chen for over a decade, and his compound eyes showed genuine sadness. "Lisa, please explain this to me," Thane pleaded. "Your people are abandoning years of progress over one incident. Surely, the attack on that girl, while regrettable, does not justify destroying everything we have built together." Chen stopped packing and looked at her old friend. Her expression was calm, but something cold flickered in her eyes. "Thane, you've known me for 15 years. In all that time, have you ever seen humans give up on something important?" "No," Thane admitted. "Your species is remarkably persistent." Chen picked up her final bag and walked toward the transport. At the doorway, she turned back to face the alien scientist who had been her closest colleague. "You have no idea what you've done," she said quietly, then disappeared into the ship. The transport lifted off, leaving Thane standing alone on the platform, wondering what those words meant. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, behind doors that required 3 different security clearances to open, Emma Collins lay in a medical bed surrounded by machines that hummed and beeped quietly. The underground facility was so secret that most government officials did not know it existed. Only a handful of people had access to this place where Earth's most important medical research happened. General Robert Hayes stood beside Emma's bed, his weathered face showing lines of worry and anger. He had known this young woman since she was a child, watching her grow from a curious little girl into a brilliant teenager. Now she lay here with bandages covering most of her body, breathing through a machine that helped her damaged lungs work properly. Dr. Lisa Martinez moved around the bed, checking the various monitors that tracked Emma's vital signs. The doctor had been working for 18 hours straight, making sure every system in Emma's body was functioning correctly. She had seen many injured soldiers in her career, but this case was different in ways that most people would never understand. "The spinal damage is healing faster than we expected," Dr. Martinez reported, reading numbers from her tablet computer. "The enhanced bone structure modifications are working perfectly. Without them, those injuries would have paralyzed her permanently." Hayes nodded, but his attention was focused on a different set of monitors. These machines were not measuring Emma's heartbeat or breathing. Instead, they showed data streams, computer codes, and information transfers that had been happening inside Emma's brain during her attack. "How much did we get?" Hayes asked quietly. Dr. Martinez touched her tablet screen, bringing up a long list of files and data packets. "Everything, General." The neural interface recorded and transmitted continuously for the entire 6 months she was in Galactic Society. Every conversation she heard, every document she saw, every tactical discussion she witnessed, all of it is now in our computers. Emma Collins was not simply an 18-year-old exchange student who had been chosen for her friendly personality. She was the daughter of Colonel David Collins, Earth's chief military strategist, and she had volunteered for one of the most dangerous missions in human history. Before leaving Earth, she had undergone months of secret surgery to install experimental biotechnology throughout her body. The neural interface was the most advanced piece of technology Earth had ever created. Tiny computer chips, smaller than grains of sand, had been placed throughout Emma's brain and nervous system. These chips could record everything she experienced, every sight, sound, smell, and conversation. More importantly, they could transmit this information back to Earth through quantum communication channels that alien species did not even know existed. Emma's bones had been reinforced with metal alloys that made them nearly unbreakable. Her muscles had been enhanced with synthetic fibers that gave her the strength of 3 normal humans. Her blood carried nanobots that could repair damage to her organs and keep her alive through injuries that would kill anyone else. But the most important modification was invisible. Emma's memory had been enhanced so she could remember every detail of everything she experienced. Her brain could process and store information like a computer while still allowing her to act completely human and natural around aliens. Dr. Martinez pulled up another screen showing Emma's mission results. She attended 47 military briefings with various species. The Zephyrians discussed their battle tactics openly in front of her, thinking she was just a harmless human student. The Altarians showed her their economic strategies. The hegemony revealed their communication network designs. Hayes studied the data with growing satisfaction. What about their psychological profiles? Complete analysis of leadership personalities, decision-making patterns, and emotional responses, Dr. Martinez replied. Emma recorded how each species reacts under pressure, what motivates their leaders, and what they fear most. We now understand their minds better than they understand themselves. The biotechnology had worked perfectly throughout Emma's mission, while she attended cultural events and diplomatic meetings, appearing to be an innocent young woman learning about alien societies. Her enhanced brain was actually conducting the most comprehensive intelligence operation in galactic history. Emma had watched Zephyrian military exercises and recorded their exact formations and tactics. She had overheard Altarian senators discussing their planet's defensive weaknesses during what they thought was a private conversation. She had observed hegemony engineers explaining their most advanced technology during a factory tour. The aliens had welcomed her everywhere because humans were considered harmless and primitive. They spoke freely around her, showed her classified locations, and demonstrated their most secret capabilities. No one suspected that the friendly human girl was actually Earth's most advanced spy. General Hayes moved to a computer terminal and began reviewing the intelligence reports, resource locations, military strengths, political divisions, technological specifications. She got everything we needed, and more. Dr. Martinez checked another monitor. The quantum transmission system worked flawlessly, even while she was being beaten. The neural interface continued uploading data to our computers. The trauma actually triggered an emergency protocol that sent us everything at once. Emma's eyes began to flutter open as the sedatives wore off. Her first movements were small and careful, as she tested whether her body would respond properly. The enhanced healing systems had been working continuously since her rescue, repairing damage that would have taken months to heal naturally. Emma, Dr. Martinez said softly, leaning over the bed. Can you hear me? Emma's voice was weak but clear when she spoke. Instead of asking about her injuries or expressing pain, her first words showed what kind of person she really was. Did the upload complete, General? She whispered, her eyes focusing on Hayes with determination that surprised everyone in the room. General. Hayes looked at this remarkable young woman who had endured torture to complete her mission. Even while broken and healing, she was thinking about the success of the operation rather than her own suffering. Every byte, Emma Hayes said with quiet pride. Every single byte of data made it through. The mission was a complete success. Emma closed her eyes for a moment, and a small smile crossed her face. The attack on her had been brutal and painful, but it had also been exactly what Earth needed. The assault had triggered her biotechnology to send them everything they required to change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The aliens thought they had broken a helpless human girl. Instead, they had just given Earth the keys to their own destruction. Emma Collins walked slowly into the briefing room, her movements careful but determined. 6 weeks had passed since her rescue from Nexus Prime, and the physical therapy had worked better than anyone expected. The enhanced healing technology in her body had repaired bones, muscles, and organs that should have taken months to heal naturally. But the real change in Emma was not physical. Something fundamental had shifted in her mind during those weeks of recovery. The innocent young Woman who had stepped onto the space station was gone, replaced by someone harder and more focused. Her brown eyes now held a cold intelligence that made even experienced military officers uncomfortable. The underground briefing room was filled with Earth's most powerful leaders. General Hayes sat at the head of the table, flanked by admirals, intelligence directors, and government officials. Large holographic displays covered the walls, showing star maps, alien worlds, and tactical information that had been gathered over decades. Emma moved to stand before the largest display, which showed the current political structure of the galaxy. Different colored zones marked the territories controlled by various alien species. Trade routes appeared as glowing lines connecting major worlds. Military installations were marked with red symbols that pulsed softly. "Look at this map, Emma," said her voice steady and confident. 6 weeks ago, we saw this as a complex web of relationships that we needed to navigate carefully. Now I see something completely different. She touched a control panel, and the display changed to show detailed information about each alien species. Population numbers, resource production, military strength, and political stability ratings appeared next to each territory. "They think we are weak because we feel pain," Emma continued, facing the assembled leaders. "Every species in the galaxy believes that emotions make humans inferior. They see our capacity for suffering as a flaw that prevents us from making rational decisions." Admiral James Parker leaned forward in his chair. He was a veteran of 3 conflicts and had spent his entire career studying alien military tactics. "What did you learn about their psychology during your time among them?" Emma smiled, but there was no warmth in the expression. "Everything, Admiral. The neural implants recorded not just their words and actions, but their emotional responses, stress patterns, and decision-making processes under pressure." She activated another display that showed detailed psychological profiles of alien leadership. Brain scans, behavioral analysis, and predictive models filled the screen with complex data that represented months of careful observation. "The ZIP are actually cowards," Emma explained. "They only attack when they believe they have overwhelming superiority. The moment they face equal or superior force, they retreat immediately. Their entire military doctrine is based on intimidating weaker opponents." Dr. Martinez stood and walked to a computer terminal. "The biological data Emma collected is equally valuable." Her enhanced immune system took samples from every alien she encountered. "We now have complete genetic profiles of 47 different species." The doctor brought up microscopic images showing alien DNA structures, cellular compositions, and biological vulnerabilities. "We understand their immune systems, their reproductive cycles, their nutritional requirements, and most importantly, their biological weaknesses." Emma touched the small scar on her temple where the primary neural implant had been installed. The mark was barely visible, but she could feel the advanced technology still working inside her brain. The Altarians revealed their greatest fear during a dinner conversation they thought was private. Their entire economy depends on rare minerals from 3 asteroid fields. Disrupt those supply lines, and their civilization collapses within months. General Hayes pulled up intelligence reports that had been compiled from Emma's recordings. "The Hegemony's communication network has a single point of failure that they have tried to keep secret for decades." Emma observed their emergency protocols during a system test. "We now know exactly how to shut down their entire military coordination system." Emma walked around the room, studying each display as she spoke. "They made a critical error when they attacked me. They assumed that breaking one human would demonstrate human weakness to the galaxy. Instead, they revealed everything about themselves to someone whose mind was designed to remember and analyze every detail." President David Foster entered the briefing room, his face showing the weight of the decisions he had been making. The president was a former military officer who understood the implications of what they had learned. The Joint Chiefs met this morning, he announced to the room. "Operation Homecoming has been approved." Emma turned to face the president, her posture straightening into something resembling military attention. "What are my orders, sir?" Foster studied the young woman who had endured torture to gather this intelligence. "You are no longer just our source, Emma. You are now officially designated as Earth's primary strategic weapon. Your knowledge of alien psychology, biology, and tactics makes you invaluable for planning our response." Dr. Martinez accessed another set of files on her computer. The neural implants recorded facial recognition data for every alien Emma encountered. "We have positive identification of political leaders, military commanders, and criminal figures from across the galaxy." Emma's eyes grew cold as she remembered specific faces from her time in galactic society. "I remember every alien who watched my attack and did nothing. I remember every species representative who laughed or recorded the beating for entertainment. I remember every security officer who delayed their response." Admiral Parker stood and moved to the tactical display. "Emma, we need you to help us identify priority targets. Which leaders are most vulnerable to psychological pressure? Which species would collapse fastest under economic warfare? Which military commanders make predictable mistakes under stress?" Emma approached the display and began pointing to specific locations and individuals. "Commander Vex, the Zephyrian who led my attack, has a weakness for personal glory. He will take unnecessary risks if he believes it will enhance his reputation. Senator Korath of the Altarian Spheres, losing his political position more than death itself. Chancellor Voss of the Hegemony becomes irrational when his communication systems are disrupted." The briefing continued for 3 hours as Emma shared detailed analysis of every alien leader she had encountered. Her enhanced memory provided exact quotes, behavioral observations, and strategic assessments that would normally take intelligence agencies years to gather. "They wanted to break the human spirit," Emma said as the meeting concluded. "Instead, they created something they never expected. They turned a diplomatic student into a strategic weapon who knows everything about their weaknesses and fears." "President," Foster looked at Emma with a mixture of admiration and concern. "The galaxy is about to learn what happens when you hurt humanity's children." Emma smiled, and this time there was something dangerous in the expression. "They will remember this lesson for generations." Captain Tom Wilson had served in Earth's Navy for 25 years, but nothing had prepared him for what he saw in the asteroid belt around Sol. Massive metal structures emerged from rocky surfaces, like sleeping giants awakening from decades of slumber. Construction platforms the size of small cities rose from hidden alcoves carved deep into asteroid cores. "Admiral, this is impossible," Wilson whispered as their transport approached the largest facility. "How long has this been here, Admiral?" James Parker stood beside his aide, watching through the viewport as their ship passed between enormous construction bays. Each facility was big enough to build entire fleets of warships. Robotic arms moved with mechanical precision, assembling weapons and equipment that looked far more advanced than anything the galaxy had seen. 40 years, Captain," Parker replied quietly. 40 years of pretending we were peaceful explorers, while building the most advanced military force in the galaxy." The transport docked at Construction Platform Alpha, and Parker led Wilson through corridors lined with viewing windows. Below them, in a construction bay that stretched for kilometers, sat a warship unlike anything humanity had publicly revealed. The UES Retribution was sleek and deadly, its hull covered with weapon systems and defensive armor that gleamed under the industrial lighting. Every alien device we ever traded for, every piece of technology we encountered, every weapon system, we observed, we studied it, improved it, and built better versions, Parker explained as they walked through the ship's corridors. While other species thought we were buying their old equipment, we were actually learning how to surpass them. The ship's bridge was a marvel of human engineering. Holographic displays showed tactical information with clarity that exceeded anything alien technology could achieve. Command stations were designed for maximum efficiency, allowing a small crew to control systems that would require hundreds of operators on alien vessels. Wilson examined the weapon controls with growing amazement. "Admiral, these energy output readings are 3 times higher than the most powerful Zephyrian battleship. The Retribution is just one of 47 vessels in the first battle group," Parker said with satisfaction. "We have been building continuously for decades, using automated factories hidden throughout the asteroid belt. Every mining operation the aliens thought was extracting metals for trade was actually gathering materials for our secret military program." In another part of the facility, Emma Collins stood in the intelligence center wearing her new uniform. The dark blue outfit marked her as a defense analysis officer, a rank created specifically for her unique knowledge and capabilities. Around her, dozens of military analysts studied holographic displays showing alien worlds and defensive systems. Emma approached a large display showing the Zephyrian home system. Her enhanced memory allowed her to recall every detail of conversations and observations from her time among the aliens. What had seemed like casual cultural exchanges were actually intelligence-gathering opportunities that no one had suspected. "The main defensive platform is located here," Emma said, pointing to a specific location on the display. "I learned its exact position during a dinner party celebrating Zephyrian military achievements." The commander who was bragging about their defenses had no idea. I was memorizing every coordinate he mentioned. Colonel Amy Stevens moved to stand beside Emma, studying the tactical information. Stevens was a veteran intelligence officer who had spent years trying to gather the kind of detailed information Emma could provide from memory. "What about their secondary defenses?" Stevens asked. Emma smiled slightly and touched another area of the display. 2 smaller platforms positioned to create overlapping fields of fire. The Zephyrians showed me detailed holographic models during what they called an educational demonstration. They thought I was just an impressed human student learning about their superior technology. The intelligence center buzzed with activity as analysts incorporated Emma's knowledge into battle plans. Her ability to recall exact specifications, weapon placements, and tactical procedures gave Earth's military planners advantages that would normally take years of espionage to acquire. Emma moved to another display, showing communication frequencies and command protocols. "During my stay on their capital world, I witnessed an emergency drill. The Zephyrians practiced their backup communication procedures while I was touring their command center. They never suspected the human exchange student was recording their most classified information." General Hayes entered the intelligence center and surveyed the preparations with satisfaction. Maps of alien territories covered the walls, marked with detailed information about military installations, resource centers, and political vulnerabilities. All of this intelligence had come from Emma's enhanced memory and neural implants. "The final preparations are complete," Hayes announced to the assembled officers. "Phase 1 of Operation Homecoming begins in 72 hours. Emma, you will coordinate intelligence operations from this facility." Emma looked up from the tactical display she had been studying. Her face showed the calm determination that had developed during her recovery. "General, I want to make a request." "What do you need, Emma?" "I want to be there when we find Commander Vex," she said quietly. The neural implants recorded his voice patterns, his psychological profile, and his personal weaknesses. "No one else knows him the way I do." Hayes considered the request carefully. Emma's knowledge of alien psychology and tactics made her invaluable for planning operations. But she was also Earth's most important intelligence asset. Putting her in danger seemed unwise. "Emma, your value is in analysis and coordination, not field operations," Hayes replied. "We cannot risk losing you in combat." Emma approached the general, her expression showing the same determination that had carried her through months of pretending to be an innocent student while actually conducting espionage. "Sir, I understand the risks, but I also understand Commander Vex better than anyone else alive. I know what motivates him, what frightens him, and exactly how to break his will. Steven stepped forward to support Emma's request. General, her psychological analysis of Zephyrian leadership has been perfect so far. If she says she can predict Vex's behavior, we should listen. Throughout the asteroid belt, similar conversations were happening on dozens of military platforms. Earth's hidden fleet was preparing for operations that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. Ships designed with technology superior to anything aliens possessed were loading weapons and supplies for missions that had been planned. For decades, the galaxy had dismissed humanity as weak and emotional. They were about to discover that emotions like love, loyalty, and especially anger could be the most powerful weapons of all. Emma returned to her tactical displays, studying the faces and locations of every alien who had participated in or witnessed her attack. Her enhanced memory held grudges as perfectly as it held strategic information. The preparation phase was almost complete. Soon, the galaxy would learn what happened when someone hurt Earth's children. Commander Vex was enjoying his evening meal when the lights went out. The Zephyrian warrior had been celebrating his recent promotion with expensive alcohol and rich food in his private quarters aboard Nexus Prime. The attack on the human girl 6 weeks earlier had made him famous among his people, and his superiors had rewarded him with better housing and increased rank. The power failure seemed normal at first. Space stations experienced technical problems regularly, and backup systems usually restored electricity within minutes. Vex continued eating in the darkness, confident that the emergency lights would activate soon. But something was different. This time, not only did the lights stay off, but the air circulation systems stopped working as well. The temperature in his quarters began to rise as the life support systems failed throughout the Zephyrian sector of the station. Vex tried to contact station security using his personal communicator, but the device produced only static, emergency. Communication channels that should have worked during any crisis were completely silent. For the first time since the attack on Emma Collins, the Zephyrian commander felt a touch of fear. The cyber attack had begun 12 hours earlier, but none of the aliens on Nexus Prime realized what was happening. Human computer specialists aboard the UES Vengeance had spent weeks studying the station's security systems, looking for weaknesses that could be exploited. Emma's neural implants had recorded detailed information about the station's computer networks during her stay there. Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Morgan sat in the Cyber Warfare Center of the UES Vengeance, watching displays that showed the progress of their electronic assault on Nexus Prime. The ship itself was invisible to alien sensors, protected by stealth technology that made it appear to be empty space. "Primary power grid is under our control," reported Sergeant Mike Thompson, his fingers moving rapidly across holographic keyboards. "We can now shut down any system on the station selectively." Emma Collins stood behind the cyber warfare team, wearing the uniform of a defense analysis officer. Her enhanced memory provided detailed knowledge of Nexus Prime's layout, security procedures, and emergency protocols. She had walked through these corridors as an innocent student, but her neural implants had been recording everything for future military use. "Cut life support to the Zephyrian sector only," Emma ordered coldly. "I want Commander Vex to feel exactly what I felt, helpless and alone." The cyber attack was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human computer technology had advanced far beyond what aliens believed possible, while other species had focused on building bigger weapons and stronger shields. Humans had developed ways to turn enemy systems against themselves. Morgan watched as her team took control of Nexus Prime's security cameras, communication networks, and environmental systems. "Emma, we have visual confirmation of target location. Vex is trapped in his quarters exactly as planned." Emma smiled, but there was no warmth in the expression. "Bring him to me alive. I want to look into his eyes when he realizes what humans are capable of." The extraction team moved through Nexus Prime's corridors like ghosts, Captain David Rodriguez led 6 soldiers wearing advanced combat armor that made them nearly invisible to alien sensors. Their equipment was designed using technology stolen from every species Emma had encountered during her diplomatic mission. The soldiers reached Vex's quarters without being detected by station security. The Zephyrian commander was now struggling to breathe as the oxygen levels in his room dropped to dangerous levels. When Rodriguez's team activated their portable lights, Vex found himself surrounded by figures in black armor carrying weapons he did not recognize. "Commander Vex," Rodriguez said through his helmet speaker system, "you are under arrest for assault on a human diplomat." Vex tried to activate his personal weapons, but his claws could not penetrate the human's advanced armor. The soldiers moved with precision and coordination that demonstrated training far superior to anything Zephyrian military academies taught. "This is impossible," Vex gasped, as restraints were placed around his arms and legs. "Humans are weak. You cannot have this technology." Emma's voice came through the soldier's communication system, transmitted from the UES Vengeance. "Remember me, Commander. The soft human girl you enjoyed beating for 23 minutes. Vex's compound eyes widened with recognition and fear. The voice belonged to the victim he had tortured in the station's central plaza, but the tone was completely different. This was not the terrified young woman who had begged for mercy. This was someone cold and dangerous. "You made one critical mistake," Emma continued, as the soldiers prepared to transport their prisoner. "You assumed that breaking my body would break my spirit. Instead, you just made me stronger." The extraction was completed without a single shot being fired. Vex and his 5 accomplices were taken from the station so quietly that other aliens did not realize anything had happened until hours later. The message to the galaxy was clear. Humans could reach anyone, anywhere, at any time. Captain Lisa Hayes was conducting a very different type of operation on the other side of the galaxy. The general's daughter had inherited her father's tactical mind and her mother's determination. She led a team of infiltration specialists who had been watching criminal organizations for months. The Altarian crime boss Korath had ordered Emma's attack purely for entertainment value. He sold recordings of violence to aliens who enjoyed watching other species suffer. His organization operated from a supposedly secure base, hidden in an asteroid field that even galactic authorities could not find. But humans had been watching. Emma's neural implants had recorded conversations about the crime network during social events that seemed completely innocent. Criminals had discussed their operations openly around the human student, never suspecting she was gathering intelligence. Hayes and her team approached the criminal base using ships designed to look like cargo vessels. The criminals' sensors detected nothing unusual as the human infiltrators moved into position around their hideout. "This is for the girl you hurt," Hayes said as she personally placed restraints on the Altarian crime boss. The criminal's forearms shook with fear as he realized his secret base had been compromised. Throughout the galaxy, similar operations were taking place. Human strike teams appeared without warning to arrest aliens who had participated in or profited from Emma's attack. The galaxy began to understand that humans had not retreated in shame. They had been preparing for war. The hunt had begun, and humanity would not stop until justice was served. Prime General Thax was reviewing battle reports when the impossible happened. The heavy metal doors of the Zephyrian High Command bunker, protected by energy shields and quantum locks that had never been breached, simply slid open with a soft hiss. No alarms sounded. No warning lights flashed. The most secure facility on the Zephyrian homeworld had been opened as easily as a child's bedroom door. 6 human soldiers walked through the entrance as if they owned the place. Their black combat armor reflected the blue light of the command center's holographic displays. Advanced weapons hung from their shoulders, but they carried them casually, like tourists with cameras rather than invaders with deadly intent. The Zephyrian generals reached for their personal weapons, but their claws found empty holsters. Somehow, without anyone noticing, Their sidearms had been removed. The 12 most powerful military commanders in Zephyrian space sat helpless in their own command center, facing humans who should not have been able to find this location, much less enter it. "How did you get past our defenses?" General Thax demanded, his mandibles clicking with nervous energy. "This bunker is buried 3 kilometers underground. The location is classified beyond top secret." Captain Rodriguez, leading the human soldiers, tilted his armored head slightly. "Your defenses were designed to stop alien technology. We stopped being limited by alien technology about 40 years ago." A new figure entered the command center, and every Zephyrian in the room recognized her immediately. Emma Collins walked between the human soldiers with confident steps that made no sound on the metal floor. She wore a dark blue uniform that marked her as a high-ranking Earth military officer. But her most striking feature was the complete absence of fear in her eyes. This was not the terrified young woman who had screamed for mercy in Nexus Prime's Central Plaza. This was someone who had been transformed by pain into something far more dangerous than the Zephyrians had ever imagined possible. "You wanted to demonstrate human weakness," Emma said, her voice carrying clearly through the command center. "Let me demonstrate human strength." She gestured to the holographic displays that surrounded the command table. The screens flickered and changed, showing information that should have been impossible for humans to access. Zephyrian military positions, trade routes, communication frequencies, and resource centers appeared on the displays with perfect accuracy. "Your trade convoy stopped moving 6 hours ago," Emma reported with the calm tone of someone reading a weather report. "Every cargo ship carrying supplies to your outer colonies has been disabled by what your captains describe as impossible technical failures." General Thax studied the displays with growing horror. The holographic map showed red symbols indicating dozens of disabled ships scattered across Zephyrian space. "This cannot be accurate. Our vessels use the most advanced technology in the galaxy." Emma smiled, and the expression sent chills through every alien in the room. "Your technology is based on principles we taught you to believe were advanced. While you were building bigger versions of the same old systems, we were developing completely new approaches to space travel, communications, and warfare." The displays shifted to show communication networks throughout Zephyrian territory. Major relay stations that connected their worlds were marked with warning symbols. Military command frequencies showed no activity. Even emergency channels were silent. "Your military cannot coordinate because they cannot communicate," Emma continued. "Every satellite, every relay station, every communication hub is now under human control. Your forces are isolated and blind." Captain Rodriguez activated his helmet's communication system, and voices began speaking from speakers throughout the command center. The voices belonged to Zephyrian ship captains, planetary governors, and military commanders, all reporting the same thing: their equipment was failing in ways they could not understand or repair. "This is impossible," General Thax repeated, but his voice had lost its authority. "We only attacked one human, one insignificant diplomat. This response is completely disproportionate." Emma approached the command table where the Zephyrian generals sat frozen in their chairs. Her enhanced memory recalled every detail of her attack, every moment of pain, every second when these creatures had demonstrated their cruelty for the entertainment of others. "That was your first mistake," she said quietly. "Your second was thinking we would forget." The holographic displays changed again, this time showing other worlds throughout the galaxy. The Altarian Republic's financial centers were in chaos, as their economy collapsed faster than their economists thought possible. Numbers scrolled across screens showing market crashes, bank failures, and currency devaluations that were destroying decades of economic growth. The Altarians believed their economy was too complex for outsiders to understand, Emma explained. They were wrong. We spent months learning their financial systems, identifying critical points of failure, and preparing economic weapons they never imagined could exist. Another display showed the hegemony's vast territory, where communication satellites were going dark in sequence. The species that prided itself on maintaining the galaxy's largest information network was watching their civilization fall silent, one relay station at a time. The hegemony thought their communication technology was superior to everyone else's. Emma continued. They built their entire society around the assumption that their networks could never be compromised. Another mistake. General Thax found his voice again, though it shook with fear. But why? We attacked one human, one small, weak creature. Why does your entire species respond as if we had declared war on Earth itself? Emma leaned forward, placing her hands on the command table. Her scarred face was illuminated by the blue light of the holographic displays, showing the physical evidence of what these aliens had done to her. You see, that is where you fundamentally misunderstood humanity, she said. When you hurt one human, you do not just make an enemy of that individual, you make an enemy of all of us. Every human, everywhere, forever. The command center fell, silent except for the humming of electronics and the nervous clicking of Zephyrian mandibles. The alien generals were beginning to understand the magnitude of their error. We are not like you, Emma continued. We do not abandon our own when they are hurt. We do not ignore suffering because it is inconvenient. When someone attacks our children, our families, our friends, we respond as one species with one purpose. She straightened and looked at each Zephyrian general in turn. And we are very, very good at being enemies. The reckoning had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Galactic Council chambers on Centaurus Prime had hosted thousands of meetings over the centuries, but never one like this. Representatives from 43 different species sat in their assigned seats, but the usual chattering and diplomatic conversations were completely absent. The massive circular chamber, designed to showcase the diversity and cooperation of galactic civilization, felt more like a courtroom where the defendants were waiting to hear their sentences. Ambassador Trill, of the Condorian Federation, shifted nervously in his seat. 3 months ago, he had been one of the most respected diplomats in the galaxy, representing a species known for their wisdom and neutrality. Now he stared at the empty human delegation seats and wondered if his civilization would survive the next hour. The holographic projectors at the center of the chamber activated with a soft humming sound. President David Foster appeared as a life-sized image, standing behind a podium that bore the seal of Earth. His expression was calm but cold, showing none of the diplomatic friendliness that had characterized human representatives in the past. Representatives of the Galactic Council, Foster began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustic systems. I address you today, not as a supplicant seeking membership in your organization, but as the leader of the species that now controls the balance of power in this galaxy. Murmurs of discomfort rippled through the alien representatives, but no one dared to interrupt. The past 3 months had demonstrated what happened to species that opposed Earth's new policies. The previous galactic order failed to protect one of our children, Foster continued. When Emma Collins was brutally attacked on Nexus Prime, representatives of 43 species watched, recorded, or simply ignored her suffering. That order no longer exists. A second holographic figure materialized beside the president. Emma Collins appeared, wearing the dark blue uniform of Earth's Intelligence Directorate, with insignia that marked her as the youngest director in the organization's history. The scars on her face were still visible, serving as a permanent reminder of what had been done to her. Senator Korath of the Altarian Republic recognized Emma immediately. He had been present during her original attack, and his recording of the beating had been sold throughout the galaxy for entertainment purposes. Now he watched with growing fear as the victim of that assault stood beside the most powerful human leader. New terms are being implemented across the galaxy, Emma announced, her voice steady and confident. These terms are non-negotiable. Full reparations for damages caused to human citizens, immediate extradition of all individuals involved in attacks on human personnel, and formal recognition of Earth's sovereignty over all former neutral zones. The chamber erupted in shocked gasps and angry clicks from various species. Chancellor Voss of the Hegemony activated his speaking device, his metallic voice carrying across the room. "These demands are completely unreasonable," Voss declared. "No single species has the right to restructure galactic governance according to their personal grievances." Emma smiled, and the expression sent chills through every alien in the chamber. "Personal grievances. Chancellor, your communication networks have been silent for 6 weeks. Your trade routes are controlled by human vessels. Your military installations are monitored by human surveillance systems. Are these the actions of a species making requests, or a species making demands?" Admiral James Parker materialized as a third holographic figure, his military uniform displaying decorations from conflicts most aliens had never heard of. 67 worlds have already signed the new accords, he reported with satisfaction. Their governments chose cooperation over the alternative. The holographic displays throughout the chamber changed to show current galactic conditions. Trade routes that had operated for centuries now showed human control points. Communication networks displayed Earth's authority over major relay systems. Military installations across dozens of worlds were marked as being under human supervision. The Zephyrian High Command discovered what happens to species that choose resistance, Parker continued. Their homeworld is now under protective custody, while they learn to behave like civilized beings. A new image appeared, showing Commander Vex and his 5 accomplices in detention cells aboard human vessels. The warriors, who had tortured Emma, for the galaxy's entertainment, now wore prisoner uniforms and awaited trial for their crimes. Senator Korath found his voice, though it shook with the fear he was trying to hide. "You cannot expect the entire galaxy to submit to human authority based on one incident. This response is completely disproportionate to the original offense." Emma stepped forward, her enhanced memory providing perfect recall of every detail from her time among the aliens. "Senator, you personally profited from recordings of my assault. You sold videos of a human child being tortured to customers throughout the Altarian Republic. Are you really going to lecture us about proportionate responses?" Korath's blue skin turned pale as other representatives turned to stare at him. Many had suspected that certain species profited from violence against other beings, but few had realized the extent of such activities. "To what do you object, Senator?" Emma continued. "To the consequences of your actions? To justice for your crimes? Or are you simply unused to being held accountable for the suffering you have caused?" Ambassador Trill activated his speaking device, hoping his species' reputation for wisdom might help de-escalate the situation. "Director Collins, surely there must be room for negotiation. Many species had no involvement in the attack against you." Emma turned her attention to the Kondorian representative. "Ambassador, your species has a saying about the price of peace being eternal vigilance. You watched a human child being beaten for 23 minutes and did nothing. Your vigilance failed when it mattered most." President Foster stepped forward to address the chamber directly. "The choice before you is simple. Accept the new galactic order and enjoy the protection and prosperity that come with human oversight. Or resist and join the Zephyrians in learning what happens when you threaten human citizens." The holographic displays showed real-time feeds from human military installations throughout the galaxy. Fleets of advanced warships patrolled former neutral zones. Space stations that had once belonged to various species now flew Earth's flag. The transformation of galactic power structure was already complete. "We did not seek this responsibility," Foster continued. "We would have been content to remain peaceful members of the galactic community. But you attacked our daughter, and that changed everything." Emma looked around the chamber, her enhanced memory cataloging the face of every representative present. The galaxy spent centuries believing that strength came from weapons and numbers. You were wrong. True strength comes from unity, loyalty, and the absolute determination to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Chancellor Voss made one final attempt at defiance. This cannot last. Other species will unite against human tyranny. Emma smiled again, and this time there was genuine amusement in the expression. Chancellor, tyranny is what you called it, when stronger species oppressed weaker ones for your entertainment. What we offer is justice, protection, and accountability. The choice is yours: cooperation or consequences. The chamber fell silent as representatives realized their old galaxy was gone forever. 1 year had passed since the galaxy learned what happened when someone hurt humanity's children. Emma Collins walked through the corridors of the Galactic Council building on Centaurus Prime. But everything was different now. The same hallways that had once bustled with confident alien diplomats were quieter, more respectful. Representatives stepped aside when they saw her coming, offering polite nods that carried undertones of fear and respect. Emma wore the deep blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, with golden insignia marking her as the youngest ambassador in human history. At 19 years old, she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had survived hell and emerged stronger. The scars on her face had faded but remained visible, serving as permanent reminders of what the galaxy had done to her. The memorial garden was visible through the transparent walls of the main corridor, where the central plaza of Nexus Prime had once hosted markets and entertainment. Beautiful flowers now grew in carefully arranged patterns, earth plants mixed with species from dozens of worlds, creating a living symbol of what cooperation could achieve when built on respect rather than fear. Ambassador Trill of the Kandorian Federation approached Emma as she neared the main assembly hall. The elderly diplomat had requested this private conversation weeks ago, and Emma had finally agreed to meet with him. Director Collins, Trill said formally, using her intelligence service rank rather than her diplomatic title. I wanted to speak with you before today's address. Emma stopped and turned to face the alien representative. Trill's species was known for their wisdom and careful thinking, but even he looked nervous in her presence. What did you want to discuss, Ambassador? Emma asked politely. Trill gestured toward the memorial garden. My people have been wondering about the significance of the garden. We understand it marks the location of your attack, but the choice of plants seems deliberately symbolic. Emma followed his gaze to the garden, where maintenance workers from multiple species tended the flowers with obvious care. Every plant represents a species that chose cooperation over conflict. The garden grows larger each month as more worlds join the new galactic order and the empty spaces. Trill asked, pointing to areas where no flowers grew. Those represent species that are still deciding, Emma replied quietly. The Kandorian Federation has one of the largest empty spaces reserved for your decision. Trill's expression showed understanding mixed with sadness. His people had remained neutral during the transformation of galactic power, neither supporting nor opposing Earth's new policies. What happens if we choose incorrectly? Emma smiled, but there was no cruelty in the expression. Ambassador, there is no incorrect choice. There is cooperation, which leads to prosperity and protection, and there is resistance, which leads to consequences. Your people are wise enough to understand the difference. The assembly hall was filled to capacity when Emma entered. Representatives from 84 species sat in the circular chamber, more than had ever attended a single session in the Council's history. The reason was simple. Attendance at Emma's annual address had become mandatory for any species wanting to maintain diplomatic relations with Earth. President Foster's holographic image appeared at the central podium, but he spoke only briefly. 1 year ago, this chamber learned what happens when the galaxy fails to protect innocent beings. Today, Director Collins will explain what we have learned since then. Emma walked to the podium with steady steps that made no sound on the polished floor. The chamber fell completely silent as she placed her hands on the speaking platform and looked out at the assembled representatives. Many of these aliens had been present during her original attack, and their expressions showed a mixture of shame, fear, and grudging respect. "You asked what makes humans weak," Emma began, her enhanced voice carrying clearly to every corner of the chamber. "1 year ago, many of you believed it was our emotions, our attachments to each other, our refusal to abandon those who suffer. You were wrong." She paused, letting her words sink in while studying the faces in the audience. Her enhanced memory could recall every detail about each representative, their reactions during her attack, their species' decisions during the transformation, their current attitudes toward Earth's policies. "What you saw as weakness is actually our greatest strength," Emma continued. "When you hurt one human, you hurt all of us. When you threaten our children, you threaten our future. When you mistake compassion for vulnerability, you discover what humans are truly capable of achieving." Emma gestured toward the memorial garden visible through the chamber's transparent walls. Sunlight streamed through the dome overhead, illuminating the flowers that grew where her blood had once stained the metal floor. "This garden grows where I bled 1 year ago. It blooms where you thought you had broken the human spirit. It stands as a living reminder that from human pain comes human purpose, and from human suffering comes human strength." Senator Korath of the Altarian Republic shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His species had been among the first to sign the new accords after their economy collapsed under human economic warfare. The recordings he had sold of Emma's attack had been used as evidence in his trial for crimes against sentient beings. "You wanted to know what makes humans dangerous?" Emma asked, her voice growing stronger. "Many of you assumed it was our weapons technology, which surpasses anything your species have developed. Others thought it was our industrial capacity, which can build fleets faster than you can count them." Admiral Parker's holographic image appeared beside Emma, showing real-time displays of human military strength throughout the galaxy. Hundreds of advanced warships patrolled trade routes that had once been controlled by alien powers. Space stations bearing Earth's flag monitored activities in sectors that had never seen human presence before. "Our technology is formidable," Emma acknowledged. "Our military capabilities exceed what most species thought possible. Our economic power can reshape entire civilizations overnight. But these are not what make humans truly dangerous." She leaned forward, her scarred face illuminated by the chamber's lights. "What makes humans dangerous is much simpler than advanced weapons or superior technology. We never forget. We never abandon our own, and we never stop growing stronger from every wound you inflict upon us." The chamber remained completely silent as Emma delivered her final message. Even the usual background sounds of alien breathing and movement had stopped as every representative focused on her words. "Touch our children, and you will discover the full meaning of human determination," Emma concluded. "Hurt our families, and you will learn why mercy is not weakness, but choice. Attack our innocent, and you will understand that humanity's greatest weapon is not technology or strategy. It is our absolute refusal to let harm come to those we protect." Emma stepped back from the podium and walked toward the exit. Her footsteps echoed in the silent chamber as representatives from dozens of species watched her leave. No one spoke. No one moved. The message had been delivered, and the galaxy understood. Humanity was no longer hiding their true nature. The age of human dominance had begun, built not on conquest, but on the simple principle that some things were worth fighting for. The galaxy had learned its lesson through pain and consequence. They would never forget it.